What up, everybody? Good morning and happy snowy Monday. Dan Kasper Show on the air on your radio dials of 105.1 FM, 790 AM, also available online, sportstalk1051.com. You got the video stream that's also up and rolling on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. Hopefully, you all had a good weekend and you enjoyed it while you could because of the dang snow out there. We do have some closings and late starts brought to you by not late closings and delays brought to you by our good friends from Service Master and Hovland's. But you can check out that list at sportstalk1051.com. But just to give you a heads up, in the immediate area, Eau Claire School District is going to be delayed a couple of hours. Chippewa Falls opening late as well. Cadot's closed. You got some like Thorpe and Stanley is closed. It looks like Thorpe is at virtual learning, that sort of thing. So McDonald is delayed a couple hours. Regis delayed a couple of hours. So we got quite a bit of list. I'll be honest with you. When I first got in at 4, it wasn't really. There was just a few of them here, mostly down south, but they've kind of exploded as of late. So I don't know if the roads have gotten a little bit more slicker since a couple hours ago or such. But if you're waking up just now, you might want to check to see if your kiddo has school or if it's off to a late start, like Fall Creek virtual learning as well. So just to give you a little bit of a heads up there. Let's really hope that this stuff melts quick, right? I'll be honest with you. I put a damper on my mood a little bit yesterday, seeing that stuff come down and all that stuff. But I'm turkey hunting at the end of this week. I was gonna go golfing this week, and pooh, I don't know if the golf part's gonna happen anymore. So hopefully it melts quick. How quick do you think it's melt? Tomorrow? Tomorrow? Fingers crossed. Maybe. Hopefully. I don't know. All right, what do we really got on the game plan here for this morning? Bucks last night dropping game 1 of their playoff series to the Miami Heat, 130-117. But maybe the main concern in this game, the health status of one Giannis Antetokounmpo, kind of maybe up in the air. Bucks are going to be monitoring his status. Back contusion here this morning, or back contusion, I should say, from last night after a scary fall. If you didn't see it, yeah, he looked like he was in a lot of pain. Tried to go back into the game, just you could tell it wasn't working out. So missing a big chunk, only playing 11 minutes in that thing. So Chris Middleton tried his best to step it up, and he performed pretty darn good. 33 points and 33 minutes of action. Bobby Portis was doing his thing, 21 points off the bench there too, but Miami was just flipping hot from 3, shooting 60%, 15 of 25. Miami, one of the worst three-point shooting teams in the regular season too. I think it was about 27th in the league, but didn't look like it last night. 60% from 3, almost 60% from the field overall. The Bucks, meanwhile, really struggling from 3, only 11 of 45, 24.4%. So add that all up, Bucks dropping game 1 at home last night. Game 2 coming up on Wednesday. We'll see what it's going to be like for Giannis, but Mike Budenholzer saying after the game that the X-rays did come back clear. We'll monitor him, see how he wakes up today, but not what you want to see. On the flip side, Tyler Hero is going to be out for the rest of the postseason for the Miami Heat after he suffered a broken hand in the game yesterday. So we'll talk some Bucks. We'll talk some Bucks coming up here in just a little bit on our leadoff, but kind of recapping the loss and such. Brewers, though, how about them? Brew Crew taking 3 out of 4. Taking 3 out of 4 against the San Diego Padres after a 1-0 win yesterday. And now have improved to 11-5 on the season. Wade Miley picking up his second win of the year yesterday. Big time save for Devin Williams at the end of the game, striking out former Milwaukee Brewer Trent Grisham. But Brew Crew, after dropping their first series in the series before against the Diamondbacks, coming back and taking 3 out of 4 against the Padres in San Diego. Wade Miley saying after the game, calling it huge, huge, huge. I think people are starting to realize we're a really good team too. But not to be a Debbie Downer, Brewers did get some bad news surrounding Brandon Woodruff on Friday, was it, I believe? But, was it when they first put Brandon Woodruff on the injured list? Counsell and Woodruff thinking, it's not going to be that long. They were kind of, we don't think it'll be that long and such. But I'm like, shoulders and pitchers still make me nervous. And, ended up being a little bit more serious at this point. So he's going to miss more time after an MRI revealed that he actually has a shoulder strain. Timing-wise, they're calling it a subscapular strain. And instead of attempting to return to the Brewers rotation after that minimum stay, he will refrain from picking up a baseball for the remainder of this road trip. And then will be reevaluated by team physicians in Milwaukee at the end of next week. But they were talking about, if you kind of go through some of the comments, and we'll revisit them and such, but Woodruff saying that, with it happening at the very first part of the season, that, he will return. But if this was something that happened midseason, All-Star break, right before or after that, probably would end up missing the season. End up being done for the season. So that maybe kind of gives you a little bit of a timeline with this thing with Brandon Woodruff's shoulder injury. So Brewers, positives, obviously, taking 3 out of 4 against the Padres. Thumbs down, the health status of one Brandon Woodruff at this point. Yucky. So so we'll hit up some Brewers chat. Today also begins the Green Bay Packers off-season program. Technically, Aaron Rodgers can show up if he wants to. Yeah, he can show up. I don't think he will. I don't think that that Green Bay or anybody will necessarily have to worry about that. So I don't think we'll see Aaron or see him spotted in Green Bay or anything like that. But I guess never say never. I mean, who knows at this point? But yeah, Packers do begin their off-season programs today. So speaking of which, we are about a week and a half, a little less than a week and a half from the first round of the NFL draft kicking off next Thursday. So we'll kind of continue our little preview series of looking at some prospects and such. We've looked at a few edge rushers. We've looked at some offensive linemen. We've looked at some tight ends and such. How about some defensive linemen? Let's take a look at some defensive linemen later on today. So we'll probably hit that up in the 8 o'clock hour and such. But again, this is the season that you're hearing a lot of smoke screens and rumors that maybe really aren't rumors and all that fun stuff. We'll get you an updated tracking of the top 30 visits that the players that the Packers have brought in. Now, I know in the past that hasn't really meant anything, but you kind of look at Goody's draft history and it's like, a lot of those guys he's brought in, numbers kind of prove that they ended up going with Green Bay, some of those guys. So I do think there is something to it with these top 30 visits, especially as of late these last couple years and such. And I know you had the COVID year in there mixed into it too as well with the virtual stuff in there too. But it's not nothing that you can kind of throw away. I know back in the Ted Thompson era, a lot of those visits were for maybe later round picks or maybe even some undrafted players and such. But kind of change gears here a little bit under the regime of Brian Gutekunst. So, but we'll kind of hit that up in the 8 o'clock hour or so. It is Monday, so we'll do a little MMQB, Monday morning quarterbacking. We'll hit that up. Your studs and duds from the weekend. You can hit us up with those. Also, on this Monday, we'll do yeah, Monday morning quarterback and studs and duds. I think that's what we got here coming up here. So, oh, and the weekend hangover. That's right, weekend hangover. So what's the big hangover from the weekend for you guys, for you all listening? So let's get things rolling here though this morning. Coming up on the leadoff, let's talk a little hoops to open up things, and we'll roll into some baseball talk here. Um, Bucks dropping game one. Concerned at all? Not concerned. Your level of concern? Where are you at with this whole thing? Obviously, I think the biggest concern is the health status of Giannis, or maybe you're of the mindset is like, hey, you know what? Heat just shot the lights out of the ball last night. Kevin Love was on fire. He had Vincent on fire from three. I mean, they were just on fire overall from three. 60% compared to the Bucks 24.4%. And maybe that's, leading into this series. We were talking about it late at the end of last week. It's like a little bit of rust factor into it. Could there be a little bit of a slow start? Could there be a little bit of rust with the Bucks and such? With a lot of the guys missing some time, the last couple games not really mattering and such. But where are you at with this Bucks team? I think everybody would agree the biggest concern probably right now is the health status of one Giannis. But as we know from Giannis, he will probably try to push to play as soon as possible. It'll be up to the Bucks to kind of hold him back and kind of restrain him from pushing it too much. But we'll recap this one, and then of course transition into a little Brewers talk after an epic weekend. The Milwaukee Brewers taking 3 out of 4 against the Padres. How about that? 3 out of 4. 11-5 to start the season. 11-5. And I was looking at MLB.com's power rankings right now. Brewers aren't in the top 5. They're close. They're at 6. Twins also up there too. They're at number 8 if you are into power rankings and that sort of thing. So, but let's get things rolling. All right. Take that first break, and then coming up the leadoff will begin. Don't forget, you can start to send me your studs and duds, your Monday morning quarterbacking, and your weekend hangovers and all that fun stuff. We'll hit those up a little bit later on. We'll be back after these few words. All right, let's get things rolling here this morning on the leadoff. Again, reminder we do have some school closings and delays, depending on where you're listening to us from. Eau Claire, Chippewa Falls, and that. You got a couple hours delayed here this morning. Some other schools like Cadott and Stanley and Thorup, you're either closed or some virtual learning and such. So, kiddo, if your parents, if you're waking up, or kiddos, if you're waking up and you're like, I wonder what the status is of school today. Oh, yeah, might want to double check that. All right, I want to double check that because I'll tell you what, it surprised me here this morning. So hopefully this stuff melts pretty darn quick here. Yeah, we're supposed to have some t-ball practice tomorrow. T-ball practice tomorrow. I'm supposed to go turkey hunting. Supposed to. Oh, I'll still do the turkey hunting. Got golf I was supposed to do, but Wisconsin. What can I say? All right, let's get things rolling though. All right, let's talk a little hoops to open up things here this morning on the leadoff. Bucks falling game one. Yesterday, last night, 130 to 117. Jimmy Butler going off in the game, scoring 35 points to help lead his team to a W. But Giannis, as we mentioned, leaving the game early due to a back injury. They're calling it a back contusion after a scary fall. Chris Middleton picking up the slack, 33 points. Bobby Portis contributing 21 off the bench. But wasn't enough. Wasn't enough as the Bucks were just cold from the three-point line. 11 of 45 for just 24.4%. As we mentioned, the Heat hot at 60% from three. Heat, one of the, at least in the regular season, were one of the lowest three-point shooting teams in the league. But didn't look like it last night. Didn't look like it last night. So my level of concern, I mean, it's kind of stinks that, you drop game one at home, you technically lose home court advantage now. It's a 1/8 sort of thing situation in that, but I feel like the Heat are better than an 8 seed. Remember, they were the 1 seed last year. They were the 1 seed. But I'm not panicking too much. I'm not really panicking after game one loss. It really felt like, how many times have we seen it? It doesn't always work out this way, but how many times have we seen it where, the 8 seed or the lower seed kind of comes into a series and maybe they've kind of had to play to get in, right? They've been playing more games. Their main guys have been playing more games, stressful, high situation games like the Heat. I mean, they were in the play in and that sort of thing. And then the Bucks kind of, taking the last couple games, resting their main guys, had a lot of time off there. Maybe a little bit of a rust kind of factoring in. But how many times have we seen this where, it's the lower seeded team or that team that had, games that they had to win leading into this thing, and they come out and kind of throw a punch in the first game. It happens. We've seen this before. We've seen this before. So I'm not panicking or worried that they dropped game one, but I am worried about the Giannis injury with his back. I mean, anytime, good thing that the X-rays were negative. I'm happy about that. Obviously, that there's nothing even more serious there, but let's face it, he's an MVP. He's the best player on his team. He's the best player in the league. And if he's going to be missing some time, yeah, that's a huge hit to your team. The Bucks, they've got incredible depth. They've got incredible depth on their team, but it still stinks if Giannis is going to be missing any anytime, anytime at all, even if it's a game or a few games or anything like that. It's going to stink. Okay. As we mentioned a little bit earlier, the Bucks are going to monitor him, see how he wakes up and such. I know Giannis has bragged about in the past about his healing powers, if you will. He's talked about how he can heal up a lot quicker than maybe the average person out there. But we'll see how this one. I mean, you could tell he was in a lot of pain after he fell. Looked like a little tailbone. Maybe he hit the tailbone and such there. But like Boonholzer also saying, we have to wait and see what the doctors say. Most importantly, what Giannis says. Certainly, we've been blessed with him being incredibly resilient and quick to heal. But you've got to take it day by day. and see how he's doing and see how he feels. It might actually help the Bucks here a little bit that they don't play until Wednesday. It's not an off night, then they play on Tuesday there. So he gets actually a couple days of rest here. So, but can the Bucks win without Giannis? Can they win this series without Giannis? Can they beat the Heat without Giannis? I think they can. I mean, it might go a little bit longer than what we expected. I originally thought, okay, Bucks will get this done in 5, but let's assume that Giannis misses a couple games or something like that. Then maybe it goes to 6, Bucks and 6, and maybe it's a little bit more of a stressful series, extended series than we first initially thought. It's just, all right, now it's the Chris Middletons who did step up yesterday. Bobby Portis stepped up. The Drew Holiday is going to have to step up. The Brook Lopez is going to have to step up. The Jay Crowders. Bucks are going to have to hit their threes, unlike yesterday. Odds are the Heat are not going to go 60% from 3, every single game. It's just the odds aren't. That's not going to happen. And then yesterday too, let's factor in Tyler Hero is going to be done for at least this series. I know initially they said done for the rest of the postseason, but I also saw 4 to 6 weeks here. Broke a couple fingers on his hand there, it looks like. But I mean, losing Tyler is a big loss for the Heat as well. So he had a couple of injuries from game 1 that really affect both of these teams. Giannis obviously will has a better chance to play and get back on the court a whole lot quicker than Tyler does. But I think the Bucks could still win if Giannis misses a couple of games, if they want to be careful with this whole thing. Brook Lopez only shot the ball 7 times yesterday. 7 times. 4 of 7. 0 from 3. Drew Holiday was 6 of 18, just 2 of 9 from 3. Jay Crowder, 0 for 4 from 3. Ingles was 3 of 7. Carter was just 0 for 2 from 3. So, I mean, it sure looked like he had a little rust, a little, shaking off some of the cobwebs maybe here a little bit. I would expect the Bucks to come out, whether it's without Giannis or with Giannis in game 2 on Wednesday, to kinda come out with a little bit more energy and enthusiasm, but they gotta make the shots, and they gotta just play some better D too. I mean, it looks like, when Giannis left that game last night, when they're switching it up with the zone and kinda daring Jimmy Butler to drive the lane to go up against Brook Lopez. Brook Lopez had a couple blocks and such, but, I mean, they just gotta do better on the defensive end too, on switches and that sort of thing. Picks and screen ball or ball screens and such, so I think the Bucks can still get it done if Giannis misses a couple games here, but it's gonna be a collective effort. Can't be just Chris Middleton putting up 33 points. Drew Holiday, he's gonna have to do more than his 16. He did have 16 dimes last night, 16 assists, being a facilitator. But they're probably gonna have to count on him being a little bit more of an offensive threat. We've seen Drew Holiday do that this year, right? We've seen him do that, dropping over 50 points during those stretches where there was no Giannis. Drew Holiday was the offensive dude. Might have to see that. Obviously, Brook Lopez probably would like to see him get more involved rather than just taking 7 shots in a ball game. So I'm not worried. I'm not panicking after a game 1 loss to the Heat, but I am worried about, obviously, anytime there's an injury, regardless of the severity, to your top player or one of your top players. Was it last week we were talking about, hey, can the Bucks win a championship without Middleton? I mean, he didn't look like he had any lingering effects from his knee injury yesterday. Putting up 33 minutes. Now I don't know if that was initially the Bucks' plan to go out there and play him for 33 minutes. maybe that was kind of like, all right, we got to adjust it with no Giannis. We need some offense here. So Middleton, you're gonna have to play a little bit longer. Maybe that was a little bit of an adjustment, but nonetheless, he looked good. Looked really good. But other guys are gonna have to step up here too to help fill that void from Giannis, potentially, if he does miss any time. So again, reminder, game 2 is gonna be on Wednesday, April 19th. So I don't think anybody's too panicky. I don't think anybody's too worried, too concerned. It's just a downer of, losing game 1, especially, on your home court and such. But hey, that's why they play best of series, right? So, let's switch over a little bit here to the Brew Crew. Brewers, pretty cool little nugget here. First time they're playing in Seattle since 2016. Yeah, 2016. Anybody else realize that it's been that long? Been a hot minute. But Brewers coming in with some momentum. What a bounce back series for the Brew Crew after dropping 2 out of 3 against Arizona. They go into San Diego with a 4-game series, missing one of their best pitchers, Brandon. Obviously they pushed back their starting rotation and such to kind of set it up for this series. Lauer got a game, Freddie Peralta, and then we saw Wade Miley yesterday pitching another stellar performance. But the Brew Crew going into San Diego, a team that a lot of people picked to go to the World Series, including myself. Big time lineup and such. Obviously, they didn't have to go up against Tatis Jr. He'll be coming back here shortly. But still, going in there and taking 3 out of 4, that's a heck of a series. Heck of a series win for the Brewers. Maybe starting to turn some heads, those heads of the people out there that still aren't buying the Brewers here a little bit. I get there's going to be some apprehension for people who didn't expect a lot from the Brewers to begin this season. There's still going to be some apprehension. It's still early. We're still in April. We're only 16 games into this thing. So there's going to be a little bit of hesitation. But right now you can't deny with how they're starting off the season, it's been pretty darn impressive, sweeping the Mets, taking 2 out of 3 against the Cardinals, taking 3 out of 4 against the Padres. And you're doing it with a lot of your youngsters. And I know these youngsters kind of had a little bit of a rough stretch here, especially with this series with the Padres. But you go back to Friday, dropping 11 runs on the Padres, 11-2 victory. Saturday, kind of like gas on a fire. It was just kind of all, bats and pitching. It just wasn't there. 10-3 win for, it was, a little back forth halfway through the game, and then just poured gas on the fire there. And then the Brewers bounced back on Sunday and pick up that 1-0 victory, which was kind of a very odd game, right? It was kind of an odd game, how it all kind of started off, too. But hey, Wade Miley going 7 strong innings, 4 hits, 0 earned runs, 8 strikeouts. Didn't walk anybody. I mean, Wade Miley. What else can we say about that? I mean, 3 games into the season, he's 2-1 with a 1.50 ERA. He's pitched 18 innings. He's gotten 14 strikeouts so far. So 1 loss came against in that Diamondback series where he went 5 innings, gave up 5 hits, 3 earned runs. But Wade Miley's not normally a strikeout dude, right? He's not a strikeout pitcher, and he goes up against the Padres lineup yesterday and strikes out 8 without issuing a single walk. I mean, you got to tip the cap to the start that Wade Miley has had so far this year. And the fact that Brandon Woodruff is now going to be out for an extended period of time, in case you missed it in the opener, MRI revealed he's got a shoulder strain, so he's actually going to be missing more time than what the Brewers had initially expected. I mean, we're talking maybe a couple months at best That's kind of the timeline I'm looking at because I mean he said, if this would have happened at the All-Star break or something like that, then maybe he doesn't go the rest of the season. I'm like, oh, okay, so that would have been like July. And that means you're not pitching in August and September and such. So I mean, potentially a couple months here without Brandon Woodruff. So Wade Miley pitching like he is right now is a huge boost for the starting rotation. Huge. And then it sounds like we're going to get Adrian Hauser back here soon. He had a rehab start in AAA. So, but obviously, I would love Brandon Woodruff back in this rotation. But it's going to be guys like Wade Miley, and then Eric Lauer that are going to have to step it up and help fill that void. And right now, Wade Miley's doing that with another great performance yesterday. Great performance. And I want to give a shout out to Garrett Mitchell yesterday too. Because there was a point, it was his bunt. Remember that? If you guys were watching or maybe even listening on the radio, the bunt. So after Yu Darvish, when he struck out Yelly, Adames, and Tellez at the top of the first, and then, Contreras ground out to open a second. Mitchell gets up there. And this is a guy who was struggling on this road trip too. He bunts. He said after the game, I saw Machado was not super far back, but not super in. Right before Darvish got set, I made a decision I was going to put the ball down and see what happens. And we know he's got the speed. We know he's got the speed. And this is, I think, what we had talked about on, before the season started, even during spring training. Will the Brewers, and we didn't know that Bryce Terang and Joey Wiemer were going to be on the opening day roster to begin with. We knew Garrett Mitchell would be, but we knew the Brewers with their younger guys had some speed. So would they utilize that speed? Would they use it to their advantage? Will they maybe bunt a little bit more, put the ball in play? Would they steal more? And when you look at what that play that Mitchell made, he, being aggressive on the base paths, he steals third without a throw. And then he scores on Brian Anderson's sacrifice fly to left field. That was the difference in the game yesterday. Little things like that we probably didn't think would matter when it happened. It's like, all right, Brewers score first. And then you look at how the game transpired, and that was the play. That was all they needed, thanks to Wade Miley's performance. Just those couple plays. So Wade Miley said, to me, that's cool. Old school baseball. That's beautiful. It was my job to go out and try to keep it there. And he did. And he did. Little things that maybe we don't expect to make the big differences in a game. And you kind of saw that a couple different times in yesterday's game, especially, for all of us who maybe want to see the Brewers be aggressive on the base paths, maybe bunt a little bit more, stealing bases and such. Got a small glimpse of that yesterday, and for those who want to see that more are probably using just what Mitchell did yesterday as more fuel to that fire of like, this is why we want to see this more. We want to see plays like this more. Let's utilize that speed. Let's take advantage of it. Worked yesterday. No doubt about it. But big time series win. I would have been happy with a split going into it. Kind of looking at some of the pitching matchups and such. I would have been happy with a split. I'm ecstatic with the series win on the road against the Padres. Now, Brew Crew getting set, taking on the Seattle Mariners. As we mentioned, first time that the Brewers are playing in Seattle since 2016. 2016. Been a hot minute. Corbin Burns is going to get the start tonight for the Brew Crew. He's going to be looking to try to bounce back, or I should say bounce back, build off of his great start from his previous outing there. He's going to be going up against Flexen on the other side for the Mariners. He's off to a rocky start, 0-2 with an 8.74 ERA so far this year. He's played in 3 games. He started 2 of those, pitched in 11 and a third, but he's been off to a little bit of a rocky start here. Now, obviously, with this being an NL AL matchup, not a ton of experience when you're looking at the lineups of these teams and the pitching staffs and such. I mean, they do have a familiar face over there with Colton Wong. And Colton Wong, former Brewer, he's got the most experience going up against Corbin Burns, obviously, with his time when he was with the St. Louis Cardinals and such. But he's had success against Corbin Burns, too. 9 plate appearances, 9 at-bats, 556 against Corbin Burns. On the flip side, Brew Crew don't have a ton of experience going up against Flexen, but Christian Yelich has the most ABs, 4, and he's batting 500 against him. So that's tonight's game. Again, that's going to be a couple late ones here. 8:40, 8:40 tomorrow. Getaway day on Wednesday. That's an afternoon game, 3:10. And then finally the Brewers get an off day before their series back at home against the Boston Red Sox, where the Brewers will actually be home for a while here. We got a little bit of a run here with AL teams for the Brew Crew. You got Seattle, you got Boston, you got Detroit, you got Anaheim. Got some run with some American League teams here. Ray is slated to start on Tuesday, so the Brew Crew are getting him another start. And then on Wednesday, the series finale, Eric Lauer will get the start. So that's kind of how your pitching rotation looks like for the Brewers in these 3 games. But what impressed you the most about this Brewers series win against the Padres? Was there anything that really stood out to you the most? Maybe there was. Maybe it was just a collective. Maybe it was just a bunch of different things that kind of stood out to you. But was there one thing? If there was one thing, maybe for some of you there was like, yeah, it was this certain part. Maybe it was the small ball a little bit from Garrett Mitchell. Maybe it was kind of that veteran move from Garrett Mitchell yesterday. Maybe that was what stood out to you. Maybe it's Wade Miley again. Missing anything else on here? I'm just kind of looking at some of the numbers here. Yelly right now, his last 7 games. He's gotten a home run and such, but 194 in his last 7 games. 13 strikeouts. So far this year, he's struck out 26 times. Yikes. All right, we got to take a quick break here, and then we'll finish up the first hour. But your thoughts, hit us up with some texts on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line, 715-830-1912. Or you can find me on Twitter at DANKASPER, Facebook.com/Kasper Sports. So, of course, the video stream's up there as well. Hit me up with your Bucks and Brewers thoughts here. We'll get to the Packer stuff a little bit later on in probably about the 8 o'clock hour and such. So, but we'll take that first break, or I should say second break, and then we'll be back to finish up the first hour after these quick words. Next Thursday, we will hang out at Wahlburgers in Hy-Vee for a little bit for the first round of the draft. Maybe up until the Green and Golds make their selection and such. But just kind of a casual hangout sort of thing. But if you're looking for somewhere maybe to kind of watch a little bit of draft, or you want to hang out with the rest of us here for just for a little bit that night on Thursday, we'll be over at Wahlburgers, maybe having a few man cave lights and such, and we'll watch a little bit of the draft. How about that on Thursday at Wahlburgers there? So I got nothing planned, got nothing going on. We'll see you there next Thursday. Next Thursday. Don't forget too, the youth had some luck with if you had some luck with turkey hunting this past weekend, don't forget to send over your photos so we can put them up on the Tilden Gun Trophy board on our website, sportstalk1051.com. So if you had any luck for the kiddos on their youth hunts opening up this past weekend, send those babies on over. All right. And best of luck to everybody else who's going to be going. I'll be going at the back end of this week, later on this weekend. Hopefully some of the snow will be melted and such, but nonetheless, best of luck and be safe. And don't forget to send those pictures up so we can put them on the Tilden Gun Trophy board. And if you're looking for maybe that new turkey shotgun or maybe even a new deer rifle or such, head on over to our good friends at Tilden Gun, locally owned and family operated Tilden Gun. Should also note Boston Marathon starting today or going on today too. I know we've got some local runners over there too. So best of luck. I know they're probably not listening to us right now if they're in Boston, but nonetheless, best of luck to that. And I was watching a documentary on Netflix. I binged it over the weekend. Can't believe it's been 10 years since the Boston Marathon bombings. And if you haven't seen that documentary, holy moly, it it's pretty powerful stuff and very, very intense. So, but 10 years already, 10 years. So, but there's no way you could catch me running a marathon. I don't even want to run a mile, let alone a marathon out there. So, but yeah, that's going on too. Boston Marathon. Okay, catching up on some of the texts going on there. Matt is saying not concerned with the Bucks yet. Obviously, don't like to see Giannis getting hurt, but the Bucks are a deeper team. Shaking that rust off. Let's get a win in game 2. Got another one. Adam saying with the Brew Crew, what has impressed me the most has been the resurgence of Wade Miley this year. Hopefully he can stay healthy because he is going to be needed upon in the starting rotation more with Brandon Woodruff being sidelined. I got another one here from Tim. It looks like Tim saying with the Bucks, not too concerned yet. There's no way that the Heat will continue to shoot 60% from 3. Other players just need to help fill the void left by Giannis. Even if Giannis does play, I have to imagine he's going to be limited at least for the first game or 2. Another texter here, don't know the name, but saying that not concerned with the Bucks yet. They just looked like a little bit of a cold, rusty team, a team that hasn't been playing a lot of basketball lately. They'll bounce back in game 2 and get that W and still win the series in 5. All right, so they'll have to win their next 4. Another texture here from Jake. It looks like Brewers. Thing that's standing out to me so far is the small ball. Look at yesterday's game with Garrett Mitchell. That impressed me the most to see this younger guy going up there, identifying to bunt the ball. I'm trying to, looks like maybe a little bit of a talk to text here, but identifying to bunt the ball and then being aggressive on the base pass and made the difference in the game yesterday. So G-Man also saying, Captain, yes, the Bucks will win this series in 7. Brewers will win 2 out of 3 from the Mariners. P.S. There's one thing that stood out to me is the way the Brewers play defense. So, Surveyor, such a good doc. So Surveyor, you got to binge it too. Yeah, it is a really good documentary. If you got some time, maybe you're stuck at home today or something like that. It's a really good documentary. It's 3 parts. I don't know, about 40-some minutes to an hour on each part, but it's a very good documentary. So if you're a documentary nerd, like the rest of us. So, okay. So coming up next, I believe we're still going to hear from Justice Cleveland, JC and EC. We'll catch up on some of the local stuff. I know we did get some games in. I'm not sure how, with this latest snow, how it'll affect everything for this week, or at least in the beginning part of the week. But we'll catch up with Mr. Justice Cleveland. And then we'll get back to some more Brewers talk, baseball talk, getting ready for their 3-game series against the Mariners before they finally return home to Milwaukee. We'll get back some Bucks talk too, NBA playoffs. Other scores across the games. You had the Lakers defeating Memphis. John Morant, he got hurt too. His status is really up in the air. Clippers getting game 1 against the Suns. Denver beating the T-Wolves yesterday. Saturday, you had Philly getting the win against Brooklyn. Boston taking down Atlanta in game 1. New York taking game 1 against the Cavs. And Sacramento defeating the Golden State Warriors 126 to 123. So, playoff schedule will continue tonight with a couple games in the NBA. You have Brooklyn and Philly, and then Golden State and Sacramento. So we'll get back to some Bucks talk, and then in the 8 o'clock hour, we'll get to the Packers draft stuff as we continue kind of our little preview series, highlighting some of the prospects that Green Bay may kind of look at in the first or second round there. Packers offseason program opens up today. Aaron Rodgers technically can show up if he decides to. I don't think that'll be the case, but I guess we can never say never at this point. But that does open up today, so I really hope he doesn't show up. I'd be shocked if he did. I mean, that would be one of the most shocking things I think I would have expected, but I really hope that's not even being thought of at this point. I don't want any drama, okay? I don't. But nonetheless, it opens up today. And but we'll talk some draft as we're inching a little bit closer and closer to the day 1 next Thursday. We're going to take a look at some defensive linemen today. Defensive linemen. How much of a need do you think it is for Green Bay to add a defensive lineman in the draft again? They got Kenny Clark. They drafted Devontae Wyatt last year in the first round. They lost Dean Lowry to free agency. They lost Reed to free agency. Yeah, they've got Slayton, who's shown to be a nice run defender. But do they need some more depth? How high on the importance scale is it for the Packers to draft a defensive lineman? And maybe fairly early in the draft. Let me know. All right, start hitting me up with some texts. 1 hour in already. We got a couple more to go. Stick around. We'll be back after these news updates with a little JC and EC. We'll be back in just a few minutes. All right, second hour kicking off on this Monday morning of April 17th. Appreciate you all tuning in wherever, however you may be tuning in from. Coming up here in just a couple minutes, we'll get to some sports nuggets of the day. We'll get back to some more Bucks and Brewers chats as well. We get a little Monday morning quarterbacking and a weekend hangover. What's your weekend hangover? You can up with the text at 715-830-1912 on that Shoe Doctor's bullpen line. First, let's say good morning to our good buddy, Mr. Justice Cleveland, sports director extraordinaire from WEAU 13 News. Good morning, Justice. How you doing, bud?
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Feeling all the happiness that spring brings to us here in Wisconsin.
Yeah, no kidding, right? So, you jinxed it. I saw you getting some golf work in the back. Did you actually go golfing though yet? Did you get a chance to
Yes, I
golf?
went. I did 9 holes,
You jinxer.
and here's how I explain. This is it's very apropos to how spring works in Wisconsin. Spring was like my first hole of golfing this year. Starts out great. I hit a drive right down the middle. Second shot, one hops and hits the pin.
Ooh, look at you.
And rolls away about 10 feet. So you're like, oh, everything's great, just like spring. And then I 3-putted for bogey. That's how spring is right now in Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Got our hopes up and then back to normal real quick.
Oh, hopefully it'll melt soon here, though. Hopefully it'll melt soon.
I do feel bad for the spring sports athletes out there because it looks like this week's going to be pretty much a wash.
Yeah.
For getting anything out there. It's going to be about a week until they can really do a whole lot outside. So, yeah, for us who cover spring sports too, it's not that fun to just sit inside.
No. Well, we were supposed to, get our first T-ball practice in tomorrow, but I don't know if that's going to happen anymore now, too. It might be a little too wet, depending on if everything melts at that point. So,
right. Yeah, it's not looking good for a lot of that stuff, but 'tis what we learn to deal with here in Wisconsin.
Absolutely. Hey, we did get some games in though in the last few days before all this happened, right? So we got like a couple baseball games and such, but I guess I kind of wanted to ask you first, Justice, looking at baseball and obviously with the Big Rivers Conference, is it going to be kind of the same teams up there with North and Memorial and such? Is there other teams that you think we should kind of pay attention to when it comes to some Big Rivers baseball this year, do you think?
I think it's going to be pretty wide open, honestly. I know Hudson's probably the highest ranked team in the Big Rivers, but obviously Memorial and North both going through coaching changes and changing up a little bit. They both had pretty big senior classes that are gone for those teams, with a few stars returning. Chi Highs looked really good the first couple of games too, and getting wins over. I got a win over Hudson, so I think it's going to be. It's going to be hard to tell until maybe we get to the middle of the season, which we don't know when that'd be about a month or a week from now. But we're still on the ground floor of getting games in. So I really look at it. And you got Rice Lake, who's a defending, went to not defending state champion, but you got a team that made it to state last year too. So yeah, I look at it this way. It's going to be pretty wide open, and it'll be fun to watch once they can get out there and start battling, because once we get to May, there's going to be a lot of really good games going on between those teams.
How about the softball side of things?
Well, you got your Chippewa Falls,
continuing
to be just that powerhouse of a program that they've had all my 13 years here. They've had really, really good teams, so I don't see that changing much. With Steinmetz still there, she's one of the best players in the state, not only just in softball, but in hockey, and you can throw volleyball in there as well. So, yeah, I look at that. I think Chippewa Falls has got a good chance to continue their streak of getting back there to state. And, you go just across the street in McDonald, they're a little younger this year, and we'll see how that pans out, but they're always a really good team too. So, really good softball in that area, and this whole area in general has really got some good softball. And we saw Fall Creek beat Blair Taylor over the weekend, two teams that are really on the rise there. Blair Taylor obviously having some good players that have come over from the basketball program as well that play on that softball team. So It's going to be fun, but yeah, like everybody, we just want to get out there and actually see some games. And unfortunately, this week it's probably not going to happen much.
Yeah, one of them that we probably, maybe won't see for this week, but golf-wise, Justice, we know the last, for a while now, this area has produced a lot of great prep golfers. This year, kind of looking at it, is it Memorial again? Memorial was the team that was really deep last year, weren't they?
Yes, Memorial returns, I believe, 4 of their 5, the big 5 on that team. So
Yeah.
they lost a couple of seniors for a state team, but they still have a good core that led them to that state title. And, in my mind, you look at what they have out on there. Will Schlitz, who's a defending state individual title holder as well on that team, is coming back. So, yeah, I think that the team with Parker Etzel as well, Ben Christensen, those 3 core guys right there were, 3 of the core guys from last year. Once that team can get out, they're supposed to have a tournament at Black Wolf Run this week, but we'll see if that
Yeah.
ends up panning out. But yeah, I mean, that team to me is the team to beat in the state. And I think they know that. They know that they have a target, but these guys aren't. These guys are used to playing these junior tournaments by themselves and stuff like that. They've been under these pressure-filled situations, and they couldn't have been in more of a pressure-filled situation than they were in last year. I mean, that going down to the 18th hole, the final hole of a state tournament, and having to hit clutch putts like they did. This team knows how to win, and I can't wait to get a chance to see them back out on the course this year.
Absolutely. And outside of Memorial, we've had, I know McDonald, is it like Spring Valley? I mean, other areas around Eau Claire too have produced some really great golfers. Is that going to be kind of the same case you think this year too?
Oh, I believe so. I believe so. This is a really good area for golf. Obviously, looking out the window, you wouldn't think that today. But, I mean, I went out to the range to talk to Memorial last week. It was like Monday or Tuesday, and there were just kids from all over the area out there hitting the range. These kids are so dedicated. And, I think of somebody like that goes to McDonald Regis, that team. Ben Biskupski he was at state last year and had a really good showing. So I expect to see more of that as well. So, yeah, I mean, and now you have there's simulators around here now too, so you're able to get some hits in during the winter. It's not like us back in the day where it was like you just put those clubs away for basically 6 months, and then you finally got to take them out. These kids can get out there and actually get some rips during the winter months, and I think that helps, and I just think it's a really very good supportive junior system around here that gives these kids this opportunity, and they want to see them succeed. And for me and you, that's a great thing to see. The more the game's growing, the more there's going to be courses open and out there and growing. So, yeah, I love to see it, and I hope it continues.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I know kind of again, it's been hit or miss when it comes to some of the blue gold stuff that's been out there, but baseball has gotten some games in there right now. Their record is 7-16. Softball's at 500 at 12-12. Softball's just kind of got started with their WIAC conference. I know they played Stout and they just lost to Oshkosh in a doubleheader this past Friday. They've got we'll see if they play if Whitewater their doubleheader will actually get going here this tomorrow it looks like, but kind of a 500 average, I guess, start to the softball program. But I wouldn't count out the softball team with Leslie Huntington still coaching that, right, Justin?
Oh, exactly. That's what I was going to say. With Leslie there at the helm, they'll find a way. They have been basically up and down the whole season right now, but they come back after getting some tough losses. I think the one that on last Tuesday they lost to Stout in the first game 7-6. Battled back to make that one close late, and then came back and got a 4-1 win the next game, and then won 2 more the next day against St. Norbert in some non-conference action. So, yeah, over the weekend it was rough on Friday, losing at Oshkosh, but I think this team is one of those teams that once we get closer and closer to that WIC tournament, they can heat up. And hopefully, they heat up with the weather. Hopefully they can have that happen. But yeah, I wouldn't count them out. Being right around 500 means they're right there on the edge of being able to turn the corner.
And I know the lacrosse program's on a nice winning streak right now, winning their last 4. But again, they've had to deal with some weather issues over there too. But again, I've just been impressed with that lacrosse program because I still call it a new program, even though they've been around for a couple of years now, Justice. But they're getting things done. Things done.
Like you said, the toughest thing is just not being able to get out there on the field, which has been just an issue for everything. But yeah, coming back, you've got 4 straight wins. A big one over River Falls last Monday. So Was
Yep.
that last Monday? I'm trying to, like, yeah, it was. It was April 10th. Yeah,
Yep.
so last Monday. So yeah, I mean, they're again these programs that have started up here at UW Eau Claire have really hit the ground running, and that's just a credit to the coaching staffs and just the athletic staff at UW Eau Claire for being able to put these people in the position to get these victories.
I was driving. I think it was Friday. It might have been Friday when I was driving by, like 5 o'clock or something, 4:30 or whatever, and seeing Simpson Field over there. I mean, track and field was getting some work in. You had the football team doing some stuff in. You had a couple other teams. I mean, it was busy up there. I mean, and the facilities up there now too. The upgrades with Simpson Field looks fantastic. You got the bleachers up there, the new press box and such. But seeing all those teams on the field too, putting in the work in. I mean, usually you just kind of see, once in a while up there, but they're getting a lot of work in there. And I mean, I don't want to discredit the track and field team too, because well, that's a program over there that is just wins national titles left and right. But that's going to be really cool to when they actually can host some home meets over there too.
Right, and that's coming up. Hopefully, in 11 days, they're set to host the Dick and Mary Johnson Invitational
Hmm.
at Simpson Field on that Friday, the 28th. So that'll be huge. First time, I believe, in 20 some years that they've been able to host an outdoor meet, and that's been the vision. Dan Schumacher, he had that eye on Simpson Field from day one.
Hmm.
And to me, when I first got here, and even just a couple, go 6 years ago, Simpson Field was just a practice field.
Yeah.
It's just it was an extra field for the football team to go out there, and the track and field could run around it. But you've got stands up, you've got, improvements to everything. Obviously, getting the field turf in there was huge because that enables the soccer team to move over to play their games there. The lacrosse team plays there, and now the football team, at some point will probably end up there as well. So, and to have that first outdoor track and field team for a team that wins national titles, that's going to be huge. So hopefully by in 11 days, the weather has improved so they can get out there and host that first invitational because I know there's a lot of excitement for that.
Yeah, and even the area that was like, if you're looking at it from Claremont to the right, just this open field, they're utilizing that space now too, where that was just, I know they had what, a couple field goal posts over there for the
Right.
longest time, but now they're utilizing. I mean, it was just wide open spaces to be
Yeah.
utilized. So
And I look at the facility upgrade with that. I was back at Stevens Point on Friday, just kind of looking at they're redoing a little bit of theirs, but yeah, those facilities here now, to me, just as somebody who went to Point, have surpassed Point, and that's
mhm.
huge.
Yep.
That for a long time, I think UW Eau Claire was kind of stuck, and now they've advanced this, and with the field house going up over by the new arena that's going up as well, so they're gonna have an indoor facility to practice. That's huge as well.
Mhm.
So I mean, there's so many things that are coming up with this program that are going to be huge, especially on a recruitment wise for kids to see. I'm sure you bring kids over to look at the Sontag Center and see that field house that's going up. Like you're going to be able to practice in this.
Yeah.
That's got to be when you're a recruit. You're like, okay, this is awesome. So yeah, kudos to what they've been doing over there to upgrade the facilities.
Definitely. Definitely. All right, good stuff there from JC breaking it down for us on the local side of things. We're going to take a quick break though and get back to some more Brewers and Bucks chat here. Bucks dropping game one to the Miami Heat. Giannis back issue going on with him after a scary fall yesterday. Brewers taking 3 out of 4 against the Padres to continue their hot start to the season. So plenty to get to. Let's take that quick break and we'll be back with more with Mr. Justice Cleveland after these quick words. Tax day coming up tomorrow. Deadline's tomorrow, just in case anybody didn't know that. But the bigger question is, what are you maybe going to be doing with that tax return this year? Well, maybe put it to get to some good use and upgrade that flooring within your home with the help from our fantastic friends at Carpet City Flooring Center right here in Eau Claire. In fact, my grandma's getting some new flooring by Carpet City today. I think it's still today, depending on the weather. I'm guessing here, but never know. I guess you got to factor that in. But yeah, if you want to upgrade that flooring game of yours, look no further than Carpet City Flooring Center here in Eau Claire for either new carpet, maybe some luxury vinyl planks like Ridge and Max flooring, tile, vinyl, you name it. They got it all at the best deals because if you happen to find better price elsewhere, they'll match or beat the competition. So head on over to Carpet City Flooring Center here in Eau Claire and check out all the amazing styles they have to choose from. I got to talk to them too. I want to maybe get something done to walkway into the man cave here a little bit. So maybe we'll see. Got to get the approval from the wife, as you probably know, Justice too. So,
Oh yeah, I know.
oh yeah. Hey, let's talk some Bucks to open this up here. So they dropped game one yesterday, Justice. But I don't know of too many people who are necessarily panicking. I mean, it stinks. You lose game one at home. You're the one seed. It's an 8-seeded team and such. But I don't know. The Bucks just it seemed like that type of game that we've seen over the years, Justice, where Bucks, a lot of those guys, they didn't play in their last two games as they were resting up and getting ready for the postseason. Miami, they had to play their way in. They had to play in the play-in round. We've seen that how many times where it's that team that's, played most recently or played some tough games, kind of, throws the first punch in these series. So I don't know too many people who are panicking. Plus, I mean, how many times is Miami going to shoot 60% from three? Obviously, I think the biggest concern, though, is got to be Giannis with that back, right? That's got to be the bigger concern here.
Oh, of course. I think you throw a wrench in a game plan like that, having Giannis go out with only playing 11 minutes, and then you're relying on Chris Middleton, who let's be honest, barely played most of this season.
Yeah,
and you're throwing him out there now to have to lead the team. It's tough, and yeah, like you said, when a team shoots 60% from three, that's going to be tough to beat. I mean, everything Miami did yesterday, they did well. I mean, they shot 60% from the floor in general. And you give up that, you're going to have a tough time beating a team. So, yeah, I think it was a mixture of those two things with Giannis and then just the Heat being hot.
Yep.
Hate to say it that way, but that's truly what it was. The Heat were hot. And then, so this next game, obviously for both teams, it's going to be a different look too. I mean, Tyler Hero going out now with the broken hand, he's done. And then, what's Giannis' status going to be coming up on Wednesday? The nice thing is you have that, it's not just one day off. You have till Wednesday to kind of see what that back and how it responds to treatment and stuff like that for Giannis. So you have that. And I expect this team's defense to step it up, come up this next game. This team can play better defense. I don't know what it has been. I mean, we know that this team is capable of keeping teams under 100 points. They did it a lot a couple years ago. Now, granted, teams have had a lot more tape to watch this version of the Bucks, which has basically been the same version of the team for the past 4 or 5 years. But this team can play better defense, and I expect them to pick it up in game two. And what is this, the third or fourth straight series where they've lost game one? Or
something like that. Yeah,
they've won 4 straight series when they've lost game one. So it's not the end of the world when it comes to the Bucks. And Mike Budenholzer has always been shown to be able to make really good adjustments. So, yeah, not all hope is lost, but not the way you really want to start your playoff run.
No, and I'm glad you mentioned that defense too, because it looked like as soon as Giannis left the game, they switched some stuff up, and they were kind of like, daring Jimmy Butler to drive the lane going up against Brook Lopez. And I know Brook Lopez had a couple blocks in the game and such, but you kind of maybe have to wonder they're going to be they'll have a better defensive game plan to not kind of put those two guys on an island in game two like we saw in game one there.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about matchups, and obviously Drew Holiday is one of the best defensive guards you have. So I would expect you to kind of try to want to switch that more up to having him against Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler's an amazing player. Let's not get it wrong. So it's not an easy matchup for anybody, even if you are, let's say, Drew Holiday.
Yeah.
So we'll see how it switches up. But yeah, you got to limit him. He shoots 27, makes 15 to 27. That's a lot of shots from Jimmy Butler. You got to imagine now with Tyler Hero out, they will do their best to shut him down.
Exactly. Putting a lot of focus on him there, no doubt about it. So yeah, you're right too. Game two, it's not like hey, night off, and they're back. They actually get the benefit the Bucks do, having a couple nights off here with Game 2 not slated until Wednesday. So that is a big boost. And I think the thing is here with the whole Giannis thing, Justice. I feel like Giannis is going to do everything possible and even try to push to play Game 2. But
Oh yeah,
I feel like the Bucks also have to like maybe try to, all right, Giannis, kind of hold him back there too. Can they win this series without Giannis playing Game 2, possibly Game 3?
I think they can.
Mhm.
I think there's enough talent on that team. Is it going to be a little more difficult? Obviously, when you don't have a guy who could be an MVP every year out there on the floor, but I think they could.
Mhm.
I think they can. 'Cause I think the tough thing is there's no one on that Heat team that really matches up that well with Giannis.
Right.
Bam, maybe. Bam's a good player, so I'm not going to discount what he can do on the floor. But I mean, I think Giannis is just at a different level when it comes to his size. Just because Jimmy Butler's a great player, but he's not guarding Giannis. It's not really. I don't feel like he can stop Giannis. So
I feel like
yeah,
the only way they can stop him is Kevin Love taking all those charges like he was yesterday.
right. Yeah, he's been good at that. He's made a career out of that. So, and I don't want to discount this either. The nice thing about the Bucks being at home this next game is Giannis doesn't have to get on an airplane with that back.
Good point.
That's somebody who does not. I'm sure their seats are a lot more comfortable than what I'm normally flying and coach, but just getting on an airplane is not an easy thing for somebody's back. So he gets to get that treatment and at least be comfortable for those next couple days before they would go off of that. It was a Game 3s in Miami. So yeah, he's at least got about a week of being able to get treatment in Milwaukee before they have to get on that plane and go somewhere.
That's a good point. I didn't even think of that, but yeah, that's a really good point there too. So, okay, but switching over to the Brewers here, Justice. Taking 3 out of 4 against the Padres, and yesterday was kind of a weird game. 1-0 victory. Wade Miley looking darn good. Their run coming from a little small ball. Garrett Mitchell kind of pulling a veteran move, putting the bunt down, able to steal third and then getting home thanks to a sacrifice fly from Brian Anderson. And who would have thought, at that point in time, that was the game right there. And it was the game, but kind of a weird win yesterday. But this Brewers team has kind of been weird in a good way because I think they're surprising a lot of people so far with their 11-5 starts this year.
Oh, I believe it. Yeah, I think they really are surprising people, but they found ways to win in multi different ways to do it, and that's great. That's what you want to see. It's not like they're just relying on the home run, which was what it felt like for the last 3 or 4 years. Is if they didn't hit a home run, they weren't going to win. This team, to win with small ball, that to me just I love actually small ball in baseball. There's a lot of people that just love the home runs. I like small ball. I like strategy and keep the strategy in there, and then have Wade Miley, a guy who was kind of cast off to the scrap heap after last year with how his struggles he had with the Cubs, to come in and go 7 innings and just dominate. Only give up 4 hits against a Yu Darvish who was dominating as well. So
and struck out 8, and he's not a strikeout pitcher. Wade Miley.
Exactly. So you really had a good battle there, and then the bullpen to come in and for Williams to be able to get the save, as Hader also pitched in the game too. So yeah, it was it's a big series win in my mind for momentum for the Brewers after coming off that first series loss to Arizona. For them to be able to come back and do this against the Padres, which is one of the teams that many people are picking to be a World Series contender with that lineup. They're kind of, it's so early, but yeah, them to be 8-9 right now, it's got to be a disappointment for them. But for the Brewers to be 11-5 is outstanding at this point with that young lineup.
I'm looking at, and I get it, that still we're only a couple weeks into this thing, but this is what we got to work on right now. And the Rays, their run differential is just out of this world. They're plus 72, but sure the whole Major League Baseball with run differential at 28 run differential for this Milwaukee Brewers team. You look at the NL West, the only team that's got a positive is the Dodgers at plus 18. Other teams on here, Atlanta's a plus 24, Mets are plus 12. You got the Yankees are a plus 25 on there, but the run differential for the Brewers right now that's pretty surprising. And like you said, yeah, they hit a lot of home runs in Milwaukee, but on the road They haven't been doing that a whole lot, especially in that first series against Cubbies, and you can say with the weather and such, but they're doing it in different ways right now.
Right, and I think that young lineup is a good, example of why they're doing it in different ways because those guys are multifaceted. They're not just, they haven't been in the league long enough to know that they should be just swinging for home runs. Apparently, no,
Right.
I think they really do a good job of slapping the ball to all fields and doing what you want to see from a young team. I think that's been my favorite part of watching this team is just seeing these young players come up and play like veterans
Mhm.
and really that's kind of what you as a Brewers fan, that's what's got to get you excited. They're building new stars and guys that you're going to be able to follow here, and hopefully, like Joey Wiemer's been struggling a little bit lately. Went 0 for 3 yesterday's average is down to 188, but when they put the ball in play, they're able to do something. And yeah, it's a fun lineup to watch, and they have depth
Mhm.
and not just the guys starting. So things are both so far so good. Obviously, it's middle of April. There's a
Right.
lot of season to go, but I've liked what I've seen from the Brewers.
Yeah, you look at, Rowdy Tellez, he's leading the team with 5 dingers right now in his last 7 games. He's kind of been on fire with 4 home runs and 8 RBIs, hitting 320 with a slugging of 800. But, one of the newbies, Jesse Winker, has been pretty solid since, the beginning of the season, really. He's still at 300 right now for this ball club. Just and the thing is too, Justice with Jesse Winker, I think a lot of us were kind of expecting like, okay, that's going to be a little bit more pop, that's going to be a little bit more home run if he gets back to his Cincinnati days. He hasn't hit a home run yet. Nothing.
Right.
Nothing for Jesse Winker. But he's getting on base. And he's getting those RBIs in right now.
And that's the fact that they can win without guys hitting home runs.
Mm-hmm.
This would not have been the case for sure the last couple of years. If you didn't hit a home run, you weren't winning games. If you were the Brewers, now they're finding ways. So, yeah, with the pitching staff, I know obviously with Woodruff having the setback there, that's tough. But then you had, Lauer finally comes through and looked like the potential he has. He pitched like the way people have expected him to be, and then to have Wade Miley step up as well. So I think those two are going to be leaned on a little bit more now here, as long as Woodruff's not pitching.
Right. That's the big thing too, because he's going to be out longer than what they expected. It's going to be it's a shoulder strain, which they haven't really given a definitive timeline on this. But when Woodruff said that if this would have happened around the All-Star break, I'd probably be done for the season. Well, that to me tells me he's going to be out at least a couple months at this thing, right, Justice?
Right. Which means we probably won't see him till the All-Star break
Right.
or
Yeah.
somewhere around there. So that's a big blow. I mean, that's huge because that guy, him and Burns, anytime they're out there, those are two guys that could be a young candidate. Obviously, Burns has won one. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I think get Burns coming out tonight, and he was inconsistent, but we're starting to see him go back to the Corbin Burns of old again. So I think we'll see what he does in Seattle tonight. But yeah,
Yeah.
he's when he's out there, you can see magic.
Oh yeah. Yeah, you just see the other game here. We should mention too. It was a couple days ago, but there was a rumor that the Brewers are interested in adding to their bullpen Zach Britton, the longtime veteran, who I believe is he's still a free agent out there too. So, we'll see if they decide to maybe add a little bit more veteran presence to the bullpen. Zach last pitched a little bit for the Yankees in the last couple of years here, but again, this seems like a typical Brewers type of move if it does happen. Bringing in a veteran at a low cost, and he can be like another Wade Miley, buy low and exceed the expectations there.
Yeah, I mean, there was a good, for almost a 10-year stretch where Zach Britton was one of the best bullpen arms in baseball, doing whatever you needed him to do. So, yeah, I would say if back, obviously he hasn't really pitched significantly since 2021. So 2 seasons. Last year he pitched a few innings with the Yankees, but if he's back and healthy, bring him in. The better, the more bullpen arms you can have, high quality bullpen arms, it's going to benefit your team down the road. So I say give him a chance.
Yeah, why not? I'm all for it. I got to give Matt Arnold some credit here. I know, for spring training in the offseason, we were kind of critical of the lack of moves or some of the moves that were made and, the whole arbitration process with Corbin Burns and that. But right now, the moves he has made, it's working, right? They're working. I gotta give him a little bit of a tip of the cap right now.
Yeah, everything's looking pretty good. You got the younger guys coming in, and then the pitching I think has been for the most part pretty outstanding.
Yep, definitely. So, Mariners, this actually starts a run of AL matchups here, Justice. First time Brewers are playing in Seattle since 2016. So Mariners, and they come home and face Boston, then they got Detroit at home, and then the Angels to finish up the month of April. So nice little run here of American League teams. I like this.
It's
Bringing
like
in
a
some new teams,
flashback to my youth.
right?
Back when they
Exactly.
were playing in the AL there, yeah, just a bunch of AL teams that they get to play there. I remember the Brewers and Mariners had a pretty good rivalry back in the day of,
Hmm.
I wanna feel like there was a few brawls. The Phil Gardner teams were, getting into brawls, I feel like, at least once a week
Yeah.
back in his tenure as manager, so
It's just I like the fact that I mean, because it used to be so far in between with interleague play and all that, but I like this. Let's see some new teams come in. I like this a lot.
right. The whole interleague thing's pretty much
Yeah,
gone. Like, it's not their games are games, let's get these games in here and get to see these different opponents. I like it too.
I do too. I really do, and I look at this as an opportunity for the Brewers to finish up the month of April on a really high note too. They can take a series against Seattle. They could take the series at home against Boston, Detroit there too. I know everybody's going to be excited for that Angels one to see Trout and Otani and such, but it's an opportunity for the Brewers to finish the month of April on a really high note, I think, too.
Oh, I agree, and then, like you said, yeah, get to see these different opponents, these teams that have a lot of expectations going with going with them as well. So, yeah, it's a good test to see where they're at.
Yep. So, all right. Hey, we got to take a quick break. I'm going to restart the Zoom here for you, Justice, as well, so we can finish up the this hour with you here. So we'll do that now, but we'll take a quick break and then finish up the second hour. Hey, Packers camp, or I shouldn't say camp, off-season program opens up today. Aaron Rodgers could technically show up if he really wanted to. Will he do that, though? Probably not. But we can kind of have a little fun with this, right? So let's take that quick break, and then we'll finish up the second hour here, talking a little green and gold, and then we'll talk some draft coming up in the next hour. Don't forget, next hour, studs and duds, Monday morning quarterbacking, weekend hangover, all that coming up next hour. We'll be back after these quick words. Got about 11, 12 minutes to the top of the hour here. Let's finish up this hour with our good buddy, Mr. Justice Cleveland. Hey, Justice, Packers open up their offseason program today. Odds are that Aaron Charles Rogers shows up today, you think, huh? Drama? Yeah?
Somebody tracking his plane, see if he's coming from California over to.
I'm surprised nobody has at this point. So
sounds like everybody's pretty much over him.
Yeah.
In the Packers locker room after David Bakhtiari last week.
Yeah, what was your thoughts on that? I know we kind of played some of the clips from his interview on the Bussin' with the Boys podcast over there. What anything kind of stand out to you over there?
It just seemed like he's ready to move on too.
Yeah,
like I think that
that's a good buddy of his. So
right, exactly. I think a lot of the time, I think these guys are just like, we all have that friend. We're like, all right,
yeah,
I love you, buddy, but I think at this point we're just gonna go on to, when you're playing a game or something, the guy who just keeps arguing.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's kind of what it's become. It's like, you know what? Okay, we love you. It's been great, but I think at this point we're just sick of the drama. We need a break.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's exactly how David Bakhtiari was. He was, I mean, incredibly honest. As people were like, maybe to a point where it was more honest than you normally hear somebody talk about, especially Aaron Rodgers, who has, been anointed the king in that locker room for a long time. So
right,
I give him credit. He spoke off the cuff and what he wanted to say. So I think those guys are just ready for a little less drama and a little more football. So when you've been hearing nothing about it, and I'm sure been asked about it every time you talk to somebody, it just gets a little old.
Yeah, I'd agree. So I doubt I would be. It probably would be one of the biggest shocks of my recent life if somehow Aaron Rodgers is in Green Bay. And here's the thing: I think they wouldn't even let him on the practice field, right? I mean, they probably wouldn't even do that.
It would be as big as Favre showing up for family night.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that just coming in. But it's a whole different situation. Whereas Favre wanted to play and still play for the Packers, Rodgers is content with going to the Jets. So I think they're just just waiting for the deal to get done. So I'll be waiting to see if there'll be another surprise McAfee appearance here in the next week or so as we get closer to the draft.
Do you think he'll get traded before the draft now?
I honestly have no clue anymore.
Yeah.
I think it'll happen draft day. Honestly, at this point, I feel like it's just nothing's happening until draft day,
or maybe even day 2 of draft day if it's not going to involve a first round pick. Maybe it'll happen, Friday. So
I'm at the point. Let's just get it over with.
Mm-hmm.
To me, it's just an annoying little story that just doesn't go away.
Do you fault Goody though, maybe for holding strong for what he feels is good value at this point, or proper value, I should say?
No, I don't, because if there was, if we believe all the stuff that's out there and there was, a structure for a deal, then Woody Johnson kind of said no.
Mm-hmm.
After there was already a structure for a deal, then if I'm the Packers, I say, okay, well, we're not leaving this table until we get what we want.
Right.
Why not? Because they're, I think the Packers are, as Bakhtiari said, they're in this mode that they've moved on now. That's out there. That's probably the toughest thing, was ripping off that Band-Aid of, hey, we're moving on.
Right.
That's out there now. So now it's in the ball's in the Jets' court, and the Jets now have all the pressure in the world. Now, if you're the Jets and you keep this going long enough, is there enough chance that your fan base turns the other way from wanting Rodgers to now like, oh, this is such a big debacle? But who do you go to if you're the Jets?
Right.
At this point, you put all your chips in on getting Aaron Rodgers. If you don't get Aaron Rodgers, good luck.
Let me throw a scenario out there that a buddy of mine threw out there too. And I'm kind of altering it here a little bit based off what we were just talking about. But, longer this goes, let's say, we get into May, we get into June, even get in training camp, and nothing has happened yet. And remember, Green Bay doesn't need to pay anything until September, like week 1. So they don't owe him anything at this point. It's based off that bonus structure. So anybody thinking, well, Green Bay is going to be stuck paying him in July, no, they can wait until September on this whole thing. What if an injury goes down to a team that has Super Bowl aspirations this year, Justice, and they need a quarterback? Well, what happens then there? I mean, would Aaron would Aaron go like, no, I'm only playing for the Jets. If you trade me here, I'm going to retire? I'm
That's
trying to play this all out in my head, like different scenarios possibly.
I think it would have to depend on the team and in which situation he likes better,
Mhm.
honestly. Like, if it was a better team, let's throw I mean, I
Let's throw
let's throw
Buffalo out there.
Oh, yeah. If you would he yeah, that would he like that Buffalo? I mean, it's
I think the
similar si
difference though there is the salary cap because Josh Allen already has a big contract though. Okay, Miami. What about Miami?
I think he would like Miami.
Mhm.
I think but it again, yeah, is the situation better than it would be with the Jets? I think so. Miami has, you Tyreek Hill. I mean, but Jets have also done all this stuff to make Aaron comfortable there in New York by signing Lazard, by bringing in different people from his past. So it would be a messy situation if we got there. But I mean, if I mean, I throw one weird one out there. What if like the Cowboys?
Mm. Ooh,
You know,
that's spicy. Yeah.
wouldn't that be like all of a sudden, we know somebody who's going to spend money is Jerry Jones.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think if that situation arose, I think you would. I think at this point, Rodgers wants to play.
Mhm.
That'd just be a matter of how much. What would the situation be for him to go to these teams? So I think we're going to see Aaron Rodgers on a football field next year. I think it'll still be with the Jets, but I think the
Mhm.
possibility of there being another team, we'll see.
Do you
But I
think
think right
the do you think the best thing for Green Bay though, and I don't wish this to happen to anybody, but do you think that's almost like the best thing that could happen for Green Bay is a team loses their starting quarterback and then maybe they've got another they can say like, "Hey, we got another team that's calling us right now, New York. You want to get this done? Pony up right now.
now, I
Otherwise, we're
think
starting conversations."
from a negotiation standpoint, oh yeah, that would be perfect if another team swooped in with was trying to get it done. But I honestly don't know if there's another team as desperate as the Jets out there
Yeah.
right now. I mean, I think the Jets are the most desperate team, and they've showed their hand,
Mhm.
but then all of a sudden decided that they didn't want to, pay the price or ante in, so it it's a standoff, but I think in the end it gets done. And I think around draft day would be the perfect time to get it done.
Mhm. Yeah. Do you think he'll get a first rounder this year?
I don't think they will get a first round this year.
I don't
I
either.
mean, what's the trade up, trade down though? Like
Mhm.
if you flip those, then
Swap
it's
them.
what two? Yeah, it's what two picks, three.
Yeah,
It's not
13 and
much,
15, yeah.
right? So I think you got to get that move up if you're the Packers, and then you kind of figure it out from there.
Mhm. Get a second rounder on top of it too.
Yep, I think so. You got to get a second round this week here. You got
Yep.
to get something that's immediate impact
Mhm.
for trading away a four-time MVP. I almost said three-time. The other MVP that's won more than it's won three or four.
Yeah, I think everybody's just ready to get this over with and get it done. But in the same breath, I can't fault Goody for especially like what has come out like, hey, if they did have parameters to this deal and I feel like they had to have had parameters and the parameters were agreed to before they even allowed the Jets to talk to Rodgers. I feel like that
Right.
if they didn't do that, that's Goody and the Packers' fault for not getting that done. I feel like
Oh
they
yeah.
had to have had something in place before they let them talk.
Right. And yeah, if you have them flying over to meet Aaron Rodgers, in my mind, there's got to be something set,
Hmm.
something at least close to being set. So I really think it's up to what Woody Johnson wants to do.
Yep.
And I think maybe he, after that, heard all the talk about, well, are you willing to mortgage your franchise for 1 year?
Hmm.
Which is what a lot of people, not guaranteed he's coming back for another year. And he heard all that talk and started thinking, okay, well, maybe we're a little over our head. But I
Yep.
think at this point, it's too late.
Yeah,
If you want him, you're going to have to pony up.
I agree. I agree. And you look at Joe Douglas and Robert Sala, they're probably more willing to pony up a little bit more because let's face it, their jobs are on the line. Woody Johnson's job's not on the line. Those
Right.
other two, their jobs are on the line right now. They got to
Yeah.
win now.
When you don't go after those other quarterbacks, yeah, you brought David, Carr in for
Derek
dinner.
Carr. Yeah.
Derek, thank you. I think I should have a tally every time I call him David. Just call Carr. Just say Carr
Just
next time,
Carr.
Joe.
Yeah.
But
Then
yeah, I mean,
was
you haven't done anything.
no, no, nothing. Literally not. I mean, Jimmy G. There was like, oh, could they? Robert Sala's familiar with them and that, and I don't think anything was even close to them. talking to him, so and who else is out there? Matt Ryan. Bring in Matt Ryan at this point.
Right, which is just you had Joe Flacco. You know what I mean? It's at this point, Matt Ryan's unless he could go somewhere and get rejuvenated. It is possible, but he's not on the same level as Aaron Rodgers.
Mm-mm. No, and I think he's younger than Aaron too,
I
right?
believe he is.
Yeah. He was drafted in 08, was it?
Yeah, I think Rodgers would be like the second oldest in the league. I can't think of who would be the first, but
Oh yeah.
Matt Ryan is 37.
Yeah.
Where
Oh yeah.
Rodgers is going to be 39 now, or it'll be 40 during the season. So, yeah, and Matt Ryan did nothing in Indy to make you think the last I don't know how many years, 4 years to make you think that he could
Yeah.
capture that magic that he had.
I agree. All right, Justice. Shot clock's going to cut me off here in a minute, so I'll ask you for a quick prediction. Brewers, Mariners. Brewers take the series against Seattle, you think?
I think so. I think they're riding some good momentum, and I think with Corbin Burns going on the bump tonight, they get the win in the first game of the series and ride it from there.
Yeah, I'm going to go with that too. I think they got a really good opportunity to rack up some more wins here at the end of the month against these AL teams. So I'm this has just been a lot of fun watching this Brewers team. So
It
hopefully
really
they keep it up.
You get that young blood in there, and it makes up for an adventure every game.
Exactly. So, all right, Justice, can you please go out there and plug in some heaters and get the snow melting on the courses or something like that? So, I'm getting some pictures sent to me back in Taylor County right now where I'm supposed to go turkey hunting, and it's bad. I mean, it's making us look like we got nothing. So,
Right. Kind of like it was last time too. Either way, any snow on the ground in April is not fun.
Nope. All right, dude, you have a good one. We'll chat with you again soon, okay, bud?
Sounds good. Have a good week, everybody.
You got it. All right, we're going to take our quick break, and then coming up, studs and duds after these quick news updates. Third and final hour kicking off right now on this snowy Monday morning. When do you think it's all going to melt, people? When do you think this snow is all going to melt? When do you think we'll just be, whatever we just got is going to be gone? When do you think we're going to get that? Huh? Give me some predictions. All right, hit me up. Let me know what you think. Tuesday, tomorrow, Wednesday, never. What do you got? Coming up here, we're going to get to our we're going to continue our little preview series here leading up to the NFL draft, which starts next week, kind of taking a look at some of the prospects that potentially Green Bay could get in the first or maybe in the second round. We've looked at some tight ends. We've looked at some offensive linemen. We've looked at some edge rushers. Let's take a look at some defensive linemen for the green and gold. And I want to ask you, well, I threw this out earlier, but how important do you think it is for Green Bay to target a defensive lineman early in the draft? When they drafted a defensive lineman last year in Wyatt, they've got Kenny Clark, but they did lose Dean Lowry and Reed to free agency. Yes, Slayton showed that he could be a nice run stopper on the defensive line. So, how important do you think it is for Green Bay to draft a defensive lineman early in this draft? And when I say early, I'm talking day one, day two. Okay. Let me know. Hit me up on Twitter at DANKASPER, Facebook.com/Kasper Sports. Otherwise, you can hit us up on the video stream or on that Shoe Doctor's bullpen line with a quick text 715-830-1912. Let's kick off this final hour on this Monday morning, though, with some studs and duds. All right, studs and duds. Let's start it off with the duds first. My duds, I'm gonna go with the Bucks 3-point shooting last night in that game. And I guess you could say in the same breath the Bucks defense defending the three, maybe. I don't know. Heat were just on fire from three last night, shooting or hitting 60% from three. But Bucks shooting just 24.4% from the three last night. Dud right there. It was just cold. I doubt the Heat, could be wrong, but I doubt the Heat will continue to shoot 60% from three and almost 60% from the entire field moving on in this series. But the Bucks wise, their 3-point shooting, hopefully it gets better. You had Bobby Portis, 0 for 3, 0 for 5 from three. You had, Brooke Lopez was 0 for 3. Brooke Lopez only shot the ball 7 times. Drew Holiday was 2 of 9. Middleton 2 of 7 from three. So, but no doubt, dud was the 3-point shooting from the Bucks. My studs, I'm going Team USA women's hockey. Team USA beat Canada in the women's hockey world championship final. Hillary Knight, little Badger representation there, hat trick from her last night too. So studs, we're going with the world champion USA women's hockey team, and to add a little Badger flavor to it as well. So those are my studs and duds. If you want to play along, you can do so by text, tweet, Facebook, or comments on that video stream. Also, looking for your weekend hangover. What's kind of gotten you coming into this Monday morning? A little hungover. I might as well tell you mine. That's the snow. I'll tell you right now. It's the snow. My Monday morning hangover, or the weekend hangover is the weather right now. I planned on golfing, hopefully on Wednesday. Probably not going to happen. We're going to have our first T-ball practice tomorrow. Probably not going to happen. I'm still going turkey hunting, but might be in like a foot of snow from where I'm going to be going. So, yeah, that's the hangover is the weather right now for me. So, we'll get to, don't forget, Monday morning quarterbacking too. So, what's your biggest second guess from the weekend or the past week or so? You can let us know what's the decision that you're maybe questioning, the move or the play or whatever have you. Hit us up. I'll get to mine coming up a little bit later on this hour as well. Bucks will be tipping off on Wednesday, so they get an extra day off here with the Giannis's with Giannis's back injury. Scary fall yesterday from Giannis. I'm sure you all seen it now on the clip, whether it's been whether you watched it live or whether you watched it on the clips on the social media. X-rays were negative with Giannis's back, so that's the good news. Now it's just kind of a wait and see approach. Mike Budenholzer said last night that we'll see how he wakes up, which would be today, and just kind of monitor the situation. I think we all know Giannis is going to push himself to try to play in game 2, especially after the Bucks dropping game 1. I think we kind of already know that Giannis is going to do whatever it takes to get on that court and help his team make sure they don't drop game 2. But Bucks might also have to kind of hold Giannis back and protect him from himself at that point too. So we'll see maybe a little bit more today. And knowing Mike Budenholzer and just kind of, seeing some of his comments and how he's addressed playoff or injuries before, he's going to be very coy about it, I think. I think he's going to be very coy and not really make any proclamations or anything like that when it comes to Giannis and that back injury. So we'll probably know more, obviously, on Wednesday, possibly even tomorrow a little bit. But I think we can all assume that Giannis is really, really going to try to push and play on Tuesday, especially seeing his Bucks team dropping game 1, and he's going to want to be out there with his guys. But the question that we were kind of asking in the first hour was, can the Bucks still win this series without Giannis? And I think they can. It's just going to take a little bit longer. I think a big loss too is Tyler Hero going to be is out for the rest of this series potentially if the Heat move on and upset the Bucks. Going to be missing some extended time after that too. But that's a big loss for the Heat. But I think the Bucks are deeper. I think they can get through this series without Giannis. Again, it'll just take a little bit longer, maybe a game or two extra. But Middleton, he stepped up last night. It's going to take more than just Middleton stepping up. It's got to be, Drew Holiday might have to be more of that offensive guy that we've seen at different parts through the season, right? Where we saw him kind of stepping up with no Giannis and no Middleton. We've seen him do that. We've seen him drop over 50 points in a game. It's going to have to be Brook Lopez being an offensive threat, shooting the ball more than 7 times in a game. Jay Crowder maybe coming off the bench, providing a little bit more spark. Bobby Portis was getting it done last night too. He's going to have to continue to do that. So it's going to take more than Chris Middleton dropping 33 like he did last night. Other guys are going to have to kind of help fill in that cause. But I do think the Bucks can, if it came to that worst case scenario where Giannis is going to miss a few games here, I do think the Bucks can win the series without him. It's just going to take all hands on deck and maybe a little bit, maybe take a little extra time there. So Brewers and Joe Ingles, as Hudson would like to say too. So Brewers start their series against the Seattle Mariners tonight. It's going to be a couple late games yet. So again, you're going to be able to hear that game and tomorrow night's game and all the Brewers games on the radio dials of 105.1 FM and 790 AM, but another late one tonight, 8:40. As Corbin Burns is back on the mound, Brewers in Seattle for the first time since 2016, and the Brewers coming off of a big series win going up against the Padres, taking 3 out of 4 with a 1-0 victory yesterday. Wade Miley looking pretty darn sharp again this so far this season, going 7 strong innings, 8 strikeouts, no walks, only giving up 4 hits there. Devin Williams closing it out in the ninth there. Garrett Mitchell being a little aggressive on the base pass, playing a little small ball, getting it done. And the 1 run was the difference there. So Brewers, big series win against the Padres, taking 3 out of 4, improving to 11-5 on the season. When you take a look at across Major League Baseball, Tampa Bay 14-2, Toronto 10-6, New York Yankees 10-6, the Twinnies also leading their division 10-6. The West is kind of weird right now because you got Houston 7-9, second worst in their division. Texas is up 9-6 in their division. Seattle 8-8, And then you got the Los Angeles Angels at 7-8. National League East, Atlanta leading theirs 12-4 with a record of 12-4. The Mets have won 4 games in a row to get back to 10-6. Atlanta 6-game winning streak right now. Brewers ahead in their division with that 11-5 record. Cubbies are 2 back at 8-6. Pirates are also 2 back with a 9-7 record. The Cardinals sitting there at 7-9 right now. And then in the West, the Diamondbacks still leading their division, 9-7 for the Arizona Diamondbacks. Dodgers trying to climb back in it. They're still at 500. They're at 8-8 in the Padres after losing 3 or 4 against the Brew Crew, sitting at 8-9 within their division. So that's kind of where everything is at. If you are one that is into power rankings and such, MLB.com, the latest power rankings when you're looking at is not the Rays anymore at the top of their rankings. They've got the Braves at 12-4, Rays coming in at number 2, the Blue Jays at number 3, Yankees at number 4, the Astros, even with the Astros being at 7-9. So if we look at Major League Baseball, MLB.com's power rankings, last week they were at 6. They moved up a spot, and they're 7-9. And they moved up a spot. This is why I don't read too much into power rankings, but I know some people do. Brewers moved up a couple spots. They're at number 6. So there you have it. But those are kind of where everything's at. Again, tonight, Corbin Burns on the mound, 8:40. All right. I'll tell you what, let's take a quick break, and then let's talk a little NFL draft. We're going to take a look at some defensive linemen, maybe some defensive linemen that the Packers could target with their first-round pick or their second-round pick. How important do you think it is for Green Bay to draft another defensive lineman fairly early in the draft? And when I say fairly early, I'm talking day 1 or day 2. First round, second round, maybe even third round on there. Do you think it's a high importance pick for Green Bay, or high importance for Green Bay to go out there and find a defensive lineman to pair up with Kenny Clark and last year's first round pick, or one of their first round picks last year, Devontae Wyatt? We'll give you some names maybe to kind of keep an eye on with one of those early picks. So we'll take that first break of this last hour and be back talking a little draft as we inch a little bit closer to next week's draft. May not look like spring when you look outside, obviously, right now, but maybe you got some spring cleaning done, or you're thinking about it, or you're still doing it, and you're thinking about, getting some new stuff, getting some different stuff within your home. But where do you go to maybe take your couch or your recliner or maybe a desk, or maybe you got some leftover building supplies and such? Well, take it to the Chippewa Valley Habitat for Humanity Restore. They'll take your donations there, and when you donate there, your donations are helping fund home builds to families in need in the Chippewa Valley and such. It's a fantastic organization. You can visit cvh4h.org to learn a little bit more and learn about some volunteer opportunities as well. But also, too, go shop at the Restore, because you never know what kind of treasures you're going to find over there. Maybe you'll find that desk for your home office, or maybe you'll find a couch or recliner for the rec room or the man cave, or whatever have you. So when it comes to spring cleaning this year, if you're looking to get rid of your couch or your desk or anything like that, but you're not sure where to go, Chippewa Valley Habitat for Humanity Restore is the place to go. Plus, they even offer some pickup services if you don't have a way to get it there. Again, just visit their website, cvh4h.org, for more details. All right. How important is it for the Packers to draft a defensive lineman early in the draft? Now, I feel like some people will probably come at this and be like, well, they drafted one in the first round last year and they barely played him. So, no, I don't really want Green Bay to go out there and get a defensive lineman early in the draft, because who knows if he'll even play right away. Fair. Yeah, we didn't see a whole lot of Devontae Wyatt last year. You're absolutely right. You're fair. I think we're all expecting more of an opportunity for him this year. More snaps. I hope so. We better see it. But I look at the current depth chart, if you will, for the Packers, and I look at this defensive line, and I see, obviously, you've got Kenny Clark leading the way. You got Kenny Clark there. You got Wyatt, who, coming in his second year, better get the opportunity for some more snaps, and I think he will. But then, you kind of look at everything else. Yeah, you got Slayton, who's shown as an early downs type of defensive lineman, helping out in the obvious running situations, or those running downs. That's why we say early down lineman, because more times than not, you see teams run on early downs and such. But they don't have Dean Lowry. They don't have Reed anymore. You got Jonathan Fords as a backup over there too. Green Bay needs some more depth at defensive line, and I'm one of those that I believe that you can't have too many, edge rushers or defensive linemen. I look at some of the best defenses in the league, and I see depth there. I see rotations, guys able to come in and out and just keep everybody fresh. Green Bay, I feel like, needs more defensive linemen. And I feel like they have to come away with a defensive lineman in the first part of this draft, first half of this draft at some point. Whether that's going to be their first pick, day 2 pick, maybe somehow even like a 4th round pick, beginning of day 3 here. But they need some more depth at their defensive line. Because right now, yeah, your starters are Kenny Clark, TJ Slayton, Devontae Wyatt. All right, cool. Slayton's a typical nose tackle. But I want some more playmakers up there. I want guys that are going to create some constant pressure up there and putting some pressure on those opposing quarterbacks, but also helping stop the run, improving the run defense out there too. So, with all that being said, who are some of the dudes that potentially could be targeted for Green Bay? Now, I think let's all assume Jalen Carter's probably not going to be there for Green Bay, right? Maybe he does fall further down in the draft. He was kind of thought when the Bears held the first pick, he was going to be the number 1 pick. Some off the field issues, kind of rose up during the combine. Bears ended up trading out of the first round pick. Could he still be a top 5 one? You got Seattle in there, maybe Detroit, maybe still the Bears at number 9. I'm assuming Jalen Carter will not be there when Green Bay picks at 15. Although if he were there, talent wise, pairing him up with Devontae Wyatt and Kenny Clark, paradise. But let's look at some other potential options, if you will. You got this kid Cansey from Pittsburgh. Now, I've seen him in some mock drafts going to Green Bay or around where Green Bay plays. And you look at his, again, we're kind of looking at these next gen stats, these scores from the combine. Second in terms of he was a defensive tackle ranked second in terms of production score. Total score 84. Estimated athleticism score would have actually been number 1. And you look at him, he's a guy with, interest. He might be a little bit light on a 3-4 defensive front. Little bit, when I say light, a little bit smaller. He's 6'1", about 280 pounds. Maybe better suited for a 4-3 defensive front when you look at those measurables. Could be, if he were to play in a 3-4 odd front, obviously he's going to be more of an end guy. So can he add some more weight? Can he handle being a 3-4 defensive end? Or does that even matter anymore? We hear base defenses, the base 3-4, the base 4-3. But how many times do these defenses play strictly in base? You hear nickel a lot as the new base defense. So you kind of wonder with a team like Green Bay, I think we would all agree that we want to get some consistency in terms of run defense. We want to be a consistent defensive line and stopping the run. There are concerns about him maybe being a productive run stopper because of his size. But he can get after the passer. He can, get after the quarterback. But you kind of have to maybe balance that out. Maybe a little issue stopping run until he gets maybe a little bit bigger. He's not going to get taller, but he can get after the quarterback. But also, does he fit more of that like typical defensive tackle in a 4-3? So maybe he doesn't fit Green Bay in that essence. Then you got this kid Brian Breesy from Clemson. Bigger dude. You're talking 6'5", 6'6", nearly 300 pounds. Now, this is a guy that could probably fit within a 3-4 style defense. This is a guy that you could put in as a defensive end in that 3-4. You put Kenny Clark and you put Wyatt and you put Brian over there too. There's still some questions, maybe some growth involved with him. I think a lot outside of Jalen Carter. Here's the thing too. I think with some of these defensive linemen that we're going to be looking at or that we're talking about here, that you might not see week 1 impacts right away. And that might kind of like for some people, like then I don't want to use a 15th overall pick or maybe one of my early, second round picks on a guy that might have a similar path to like what Wyatt was last year. Fair. And I get it. The thing was with Brian too. He did miss some time due to a kidney infection. I hope that doesn't necessarily affect his draft stock. I saw some people kind of talking about that a little bit. I hope that doesn't necessarily affect his draft stock. But you read some of the stuff on him. I love his mindset. I love, he seems like he could be a leader within the locker room. He's going to be a good run defender, has the ability to get in the pocket, get after the quarterbacks. But again, I think the biggest thing with Brian here might be you might not see him jump out of the page first year. He might not be an Aaron Donald or somebody like that in his rookie year. So again, is that going to be worth a 15th overall pick? Interesting one here is Mr. Smith, Mozzie Smith from Michigan. Now, I've seen a lot of people kind of talking about, well, he's a perfect fit for like Pittsburgh, for Mike Tomlin and the Steelers. Like that's a guy. He's 6'3", so a little bit smaller than Brian in terms of the height, but bigger in weight. It's 323. 323. Now I've seen him go back end first round, maybe more of a day two, early round two type of player. You're looking at some of his, athleticism scores. They would have ranked second. Total score ranked third. His production score, according to Next Gen Stats from the Combine, though, ranked just sixth on there. But he is a strong human being. Strong human being. Physical player. He's got that nice, combination of size and quickness. Adds a little juice to the defensive line. It's got to be a little bit more consistent. He's taking on double teams here. But the thing is, how many double teams is he initially going to face? Put him on a team like Green Bay. How many double teams is he initially going to face? With Kenny Clark on there. Probably not a lot right away. But again, like a lot of these guys, the word you're seeing a lot with him is upside. He can be a starter. Will be a starter. But when? Can it be right away? Can he be an impact defender right away? Or, in the same breath, when we're looking at all this too, maybe you kind of look at this whole thing and be like, well, what are the expectations for Green Bay this year? Do you factor that into it a little bit too? Smith is an intriguing player, though, for me. That I'd be, how do I want to phrase this? I'd be really curious to see how he fits within this style, how he fits with Kenny Clark and Devontae White, because I think he provides some unique abilities, some unique athleticism to that defensive front if it's those three. I don't think he's worth maybe the 15th overall pick, but if you get him in day two, I'm intrigued with his athletic abilities. I really am. Let's chat a little bit about Keanu Benton. Now, Keanu Benton is an interesting one too. I know we were talking with RJ about him last week, and he's got these interesting measurables. He's 6'4". Okay, he's 6'4". He's taller than Smith. He's taller, than even Jalen Carter. He's taller than Cansey from Pitt. His weight's 309. So that brings into the question for a lot of people, what style of defense does he fit? What position does he fit? Is he more of an end? Is he like a 3-4 end? Is he a 4-3 defensive tackle? I think he's really improved his stock. Senior Bowl, he did everything at the Combine. It's just, I think a lot of people are going to be, the biggest question are like, where does he, what's his position? I would be intrigued with him on this defensive front. I really would. He's a guy that I wonder if you can be a little bit more versatile with him because of his measurables. We've seen him how many times in Wisconsin? We've seen him the last, few seasons. We've seen him make plays. We look at these measurables, we look at these statistics and the numbers they put up at the Combine. But when it comes to Keanu Benton, and for a lot of us who watch the Badgers, We know the guy can play. We've seen him play. We've seen him play at a successful rate for a long time. And the different things that he provides, again, I think would be a unique. It would be unique to this defensive line with Green Bay. Now, he might not be a guy that is going to come out and be a starter right away. And a lot of it will depend on the depth that they have at that position when Green Bay opens camp and training camp and get into the regular season and such and see who else they have out there. But I'll tell you, if he's a day 2 pick from Green Bay, I'm not going to be upset. Does he need to be more consistent in certain areas? Of course. I think a lot of these defensive linemen that we're talking about kind of have to, same way. There's Jalen Carter, then there's like another group. Jalen Carter's like alone in terms of tiers when it comes to the defensive linemen in the upcoming draft. Keanu Benton's got the experience. He's shown the play. He's got intriguing athletic physical traits. I wouldn't be upset if Green Bay used a day 2 pick on him. Not at all. So those are just some of, defensive tackles, day 1, day 2 potential over there. Again, Jalen Carter's probably not going to be there at 15, but I'll ask you this. If the Packers maybe moved up in the draft, let's say they moved up. Let's say, they swapped picks with the Jets and the Aaron Rodgers trade. And maybe they use some of that and they move up into the top 10. And let's say let's say Jalen Carter's there. Even with the off the field stuff. Or let's say factor in the off the field stuff. Would you be okay with Green Bay drafting Jalen Carter? Hudson's shaking his head no right now. Do you agree with Hudson? But he's got the off the field stuff. Would you be okay if Green Bay moved up in the first round, where they'll have to? I mean, moving up in the first round, it's going to take a little bit. It's going to take a pretty penny. But would you be good if Green Bay, put together a package, got up in that top 10, and grabbed Jalen Carter? And maybe they won't have a second round pick. Maybe that's the price. Or are you of the mindset like, nah, use the first round pick on a different position, maybe get one of those other defensive linemen, day 2, maybe 4th round in day 3. Some guys that we didn't even talk about. Because I do believe it's Jalen Carter here, and then everybody else is like a tier 2, maybe a little tier 3 mixed in there. But, I mean, then you'd be talking about a Jalen Carter and a Kenny Clark and a Devontae Wyatt up front. Like I said, I would love nothing more than this defense having studs in the trenches, studs up at the edges, wreaking havoc on offensive lines, play in, play out, day in, day out. Not just getting after the quarterback, but shutting down the run. That's what I want to see from this defense. I want to see a physical, dominating defense, wreaking havoc against offensive lines, stopping running backs, and getting after quarterbacks. So I do think they got to come away with a defensive lineman in the first few rounds of this draft. They need the depth. All right, let's take a quick break, and then we'll wrap things up here, covering the bases and such. Brewers, Mariners tonight. More NBA playoffs tonight. No Bucks. They don't got anything until Wednesday. We'll be back in just a few minutes. Wrapping things up here on this Monday morning. Got about 11 minutes to the top here. Recapping some things here. Reminder, Brewers, Mariners begin their series tonight. Corbin Burns on the mound for the Brew Crew. First pitch at 8:40. So it's going to be another late night coming at you for the Brewers. So 8:40. First pitch is slated to start for the Brew Crew. So, yeah, they got 3 games there, 8:40 tonight, 8:40 tomorrow, 3:10 getaway day Wednesday before they finally get an off day there before returning home for Friday against the Boston Red Sox. Bucks, they don't play until Wednesday, which is a good thing, obviously, to help recover Giannis's back after that scary fall yesterday. He tried to give it a go, but obviously you could tell he was just not feeling it. So Bucks dropping game 130 to 117. They'll be back at it on tomorrow or Wednesday. Wednesday. NBA games on the docket. You only got a couple for tonight. You only got a couple. You've got Brooklyn taking on Philly. That's at 6:30. Then Golden State taking on Sacramento. That's going to be at 9. We got Stanley Cup playoffs going on tonight. New York Islanders taking on Carolina. Florida's taking on Boston. Minnesota taking on Dallas. And then the Kings will be taking on the Oilers. Nice little Wayne Gretzky game right there. So that you got 4 games tonight. Those are all going to be on either ESPN or ESPN2. My Seattle Kraken will get things going tomorrow, going up against the Colorado Avalanche. So got Stanley Cup playoffs also rolling on right now too. So lots of stuff going on. You can't find something to watch in the sports world. What the heck is wrong with you right now? Matt Fitzpatrick defeating Jordan Spieth in the playoff at the Heritage this past weekend too, yesterday. So had a little golf action on there. We're getting closer to the draft as we kind of just we're talking a little bit about it. Again, reminder, we're just going to casually hang out at Wahlburgers next Thursday. For the first round. I'll probably be sticking around until shortly after the Packers make their pick and such. But if you want to stop by, hang out, have some man cave lights and such, stop on over, all right? We'll watch the draft, and who knows, maybe an Aaron Rodgers trade will happen while we're there too. Never know. Or maybe it happens on day 2. If nothing happens beforehand, I guarantee you that's going to be talked about a lot in the draft coverage. So I am still looking, though, if we want to do this thing. You know, Surveyor brought it up last week. Should we do a listener mock draft? Meaning, if I could find 31 of you, remember, there's the Dolphins forfeited their first round picks, so they don't got one. So we got 31 first round picks. We'll do a listener mock draft, let's say Thursday, the first round, on air. Okay, it'll be on air. We'll do it like in the 7 o'clock hour or maybe 8 o'clock hour, whatever. No, yeah, whatever works for you. We'll see. Let's do it. Let's do it in the 8 o'clock hour. We'll do it like right at 8 o'clock, 8:05. So that way you guys, okay, yeah, 8:05. We'll do it 8:05 next Thursday. The listener mock draft. I need 31 of you. You're going to get a number. That's what position you're drafting for. I get it. There's going to be some teams that have multiple picks in the first round. But we're not doing it based off teams. We're doing it based off the number you get, 1 through 31. If you are interested, all you have to do is when you're on the clock is text in your pick. Okay, you don't have to call us. You don't have to come in. You just got to make sure you're listening for like 15, 20 minutes, depending on how quick everybody gets their picks in. And text in your picks. And you got to follow along to make sure the pick that you texted isn't already taken. Okay? So, if you're in, let me know. Hit me up with a text saying in and give me a name. Okay? I need a name. So I can put it up on the board here in the studio. I think we did something like this last year. Maybe it was a couple years ago. I can't remember. But if anybody's interested, if we get 31, I don't want to partake in it. I want this just to be a listener-driven draft. So if you're in, let me know. We'll do it next Thursday, 8:05. Now that I gave you time, check your schedules and let me know. It should be a lot of fun. Let's see if we can get everybody on there. If we maybe only get like, I can't, Maybe some people say, I can't with my work schedule. If we get like 15, then we'll double it up. Person will get two spots or something like that. So I at least need 15, but I would love 31. So, all right, what else do we got on the docket? Packers offseason program begins today. I know there's some people having some fun with it. Is Aaron Rodgers going to show up or not? I would be shocked. I mean, I would probably, like, holy moly, he actually pulled that card. I think I'd be a little impressed, but at the same time, I think I would be like, huh? Actually did it. I don't think he will, but I guess never say never in this world in 2023. But Packers offseason program does officially begin today. A lot of teams beginning today too. So I don't know I don't know off the top of my head if we'll hear Matt LaFleur or Goody or anybody necessarily speak, or any of the players. I don't know if there will be any media availability or not, but if there is, I'm sure we'll recap it and all that fun stuff. All that fun stuff tomorrow. Other stuff on the docket. What do we want to catch up on here? Will we miss anything? I don't think we missed. We talked, a little women's hockey world championships. Yeah, okay. We're gonna talk some more Badgers. We'll talk some more about spring ball with RJ Cardinal tomorrow. I know that we had some practices going on there too, so we'll catch that up. We'll catch up with RJ on that tomorrow. Chippewa Steel are going to be getting their postseason run as well, so we'll chat with Coach Casey as they wrapped up their regular season this past weekend at home, and now they begin the postseason. First game is going to be April 21st, 7 p.m., April 22nd, 7 p.m., all on the road before they return home for Game 3, April 28th, and then Game 4, if necessary, is going to be on the 29th, and then Game 5, if necessary, will be on May 1st. That's the playoff schedule for the Chippewa Steel right now. Over the weekend, the Steel did drop both their games against the Wilderness, 2-1 on Friday, 6-3 on Friday, but getting a lot of new guys playing, getting some rest, and that sort of thing. So, but hey, we got playoffs now for the Chippewa Steel, baby, right? Good times. Excited, really excited for Casey and the Chippewa Steel. I know they worked their butts off to get to this point, and they got there. So, but congrats to them, and hopefully they can continue their season. Hopefully it'll be a long playoff run for the Steel. Other stuff on the docket for tomorrow. It is a Grind My Gears Tuesday, so if you want to grind your gears, you can, get something off your chest. Hit us up tomorrow with that. Also, we'll do a little Pop Quiz Tuesday, and a Press Pass Tuesday. So if you got a question, if you're new to this and you're not sure what Press Pass is, if you got a question that you would like to ask anybody in the world of sports, you want to ask anybody in the world of sports, one question, and you are going to get a truthful answer, what is that going to be? What is that question going to be? And who is it going to be to? So think about that for a little bit. That's your homework assignment. And then you can send those babies on over tomorrow. Okay? So obviously tomorrow, too, we'll be recapping whether the Brewers picked up another win, this time with Corbin Burns on the mound. Can Corbin Burns kind of repeat what he did in his last outing? Looked like the good old Corbin Burns, right? I know heading into his third start, we were kind of wondering, all right, first two games, he's not looking that great. Panic mode, is it going to be there or not? Well, he put the good old Aaron Rodgers out there and told everybody to calm down, relax. Got the job done. Now he's going to try to do it again with going up against the Mariners tonight. Catching up on a couple texts here really quick because I know I only got a couple minutes left. Talking about the defensive linemen. We got Adam saying defensive linemen should be a high priority. I don't think in the first round. Looking at more like a round 3 selection. Another text here, don't know the name. Defensive lineman is a priority, but not sure it's a first round priority, especially given the talent of defensive linemen in this draft. Looking more at a third or fourth round selection there. I definitely think Green Bay is going to draft a defensive lineman, but I also think they're probably going to add some cheaper veterans in free agency. I've got another pick. If the Packers move up to trade for Jalen Carter, I would absolutely love that. But on the other hand, I would miss out on them having a second-round pick if that's what it would also cost. They have a few needs on here that could be addressed with that second-round pick. This one's from Eric. Eric is saying that defensive line should be a high priority, whether it's a first-round pick or second-round pick. They need to add some more depth to that group. I think tomorrow we'll continue our series, kind of maybe taking a look at some of the safeties. I think that's another position, right, that Green Bay is probably going to need some depth at, is that safety position. Now, again, is 15 too high? Maybe is that too high for a guy like Brian Branch? Could they get somebody in day 2, second and third rounders? We'll take a look at that tomorrow, looking at the safety position. Because right now it's Darnell Savage and, Ford. Always want to say TJ Ford. Rudy Ford. Probably needs some more depth over there. So we'll talk about that tomorrow. DP and the Danettes, they're up next. Have yourself a good rest of your Monday. We'll be back at it again tomorrow morning just past 6 with hopefully some of the snow melted. Talk to you then.